Wow, look at this destruction. Look at this destruction. A burnt down hotel. This looks like a war zone, complete war zone. Look at what kind of evil, twisted psychopaths have done this, right? Dangerous groups of men. Look at what these dangerous groups of men have done. Oh, wait. No, sorry. Actually, it was two teenage girls who did this, right? Two teenage girls were arrested on suspicion of arson, of burning down a historic hotel. You see, people are always going to be up in arms when there's a group of men. But when it's a group of teenage girls, or a gang of teenage girls, or of women doing something criminal, well, you don't hear a peep. So let's go over this article highlighting how the feral girl gangs are terrorizing Britain with arson attacks, brazen thefts, and violent assaults. And of course, the quote-unquote experts and the media frames this as, oh, these vulnerable girls, right? They're being brainwashed by the media, by social media, right? Always making up excuses, right? Meanwhile, we know from studies that women and girls are actually more aggressive, right? Okay. But yeah, I'm just asking, right? Because we hear all this stuff about gangs of men, dangerous gangs of men, right? And there are protests all over the Anglosphere in regards to these men. Will there also be protests here when gangs of girls committing violence, arson, theft, and even murder? Will there be protests? I predict that none of these people will say a peep about this, okay? They're burning down hotels, they're harassing shopkeepers, they're assaulting pedestrians, and they're breaking windows. Gone is the age of the back alley boys. Welcome to the age of girl gangs. The alarming trend, which has played out in British villages, towns, and cities this year, has seen groups of young girls involved, accused, and charged with a variety of offenses not normally associated with their age or sex. This is not normally associated with girls, not because it is just something new that happens, but because it is underreported and the police doesn't go after them, actually, right? They overlook them on purpose because they want to go after men and boys, because they want to over-police men and boys, right? Men and boys are over-policed, meanwhile, women and girl criminals go undetected. Okay, this is on purpose. These include arson attacks, brazen thefts, violent assaults, and drug running, as well as the general terrorizing of innocents in shocking incidents that spare neither the young or elderly. And the carnage shows no signs of abating. Again, will there be outrage? Will there be protests against this? And also this female supremacist culture, right? That lets these girls get away with this, right? And the bias in the criminal justice system and in the police that lets these violent girls get away with this? Or are people only going to be up in arms when a group of men is concerned? Last week, a 14-year-old schoolgirl was arrested after a deliberate blaze destroyed an abandoned Grade 1 listed manor house in Liverpool. Right, so look at this This is what a 14-year-old girl did. It follows a similar incident also this month, which saw 2 teenage girls arrested on suspicion of arson after a much-loved historic hotel went up in flames. In a separate incident, a 16-year-old girl was among 3 suspects charged with murder after a man in his 40s was killed on the Isle of Chappé. So these girls actually killed a man in his 40s. Again, will there be outrage? Will there be protests for this man? These same people that are rioting in the streets right now, you won't hear a peep from these people about these cases. I promise you that right now. In another corner of the country, a female gang has become so notorious with locals for swinging on bottles of Prosecco and jumping over rooftops. In Southampton, shopkeepers have been plagued by feral teens throwing knives inside shops, daubing cartoon penises on walls, blaring pornography from portable speakers, and pelting eggs at stunned passers-by in broad daylight, and often filmed for TikTok. TikTok is a very damaging, misandrist, radical feminist platform that actually should be banned, in my opinion. The shameful escalation in schoolgirls transforming from law-abiding citizens into violent criminals has not gone unnoticed by experts. Again, there is a lot of evidence that women and girls are more aggressive and more violent than men. Okay, and this starts already in girls. So this is not a recent trend, actually. This is something that has always happened, and it's just become more noticeable, right? Because it increased, basically, right? One child psychologist told the Daily Mail social media had played an important role in glamorizing gang life, with vulnerable girls from troubled backgrounds drawn into the status and power of being in a gang. Right? They always bring up the troubled backgrounds. When there's a male perpetrator, the troubled backgrounds don't matter, right? Key findings in a report published by the Local Government Association last November also cited the influence of social media and highlighted the reasons why young females are turning to violent crime. Again, they always bring up excuses after excuses, right? Meanwhile, we have the data showing that girls are more physically aggressive, for example, in dating relationships, right? Girls perpetrated significantly more dating intimate partner violence than their male peers. Yeah, and here you can see some pictures of these criminals. Again, the destruction is unbelievable, right? And this man got murdered by girls, by teenage girls. Again, will there be right-wing outrage over this man? Will there be outrage? Or does it only matter when they want to go after a group of men? Here's another murder that teenage girls have committed. Earlier this year, 3 teenage girls admitted killing 75-year-old Freddie Rivero in a vicious street attack filmed on a mobile phone in North London. Right, so elderly men get killed by teenage girls. So, yeah, again, will there be protests? Will there be protests? Not just against these gang of girls, but also against this female supremacist culture. Olivia Allen, 13 years old, was left with serious injuries after being allegedly always these weasel words, allegedly, kicked like a football by a gang of girls. The door of a subway was smashed by the unprovoked feral girl gang one night. Right? Unprovoked. There's no excuses.
You want to get shanked? You want to get shanked?
No.
You see, this is what female supremacism does when you let women and girls get away with everything. And you only go after men. Oh, these men, they're so violent and they're predators lurking behind every corner. Meanwhile, you're ignoring what the other 50% of the population does. Right? Yeah, the police doesn't care. Exactly. Right? They feel emboldened because this feminist police, this female supremacist police, is doing nothing. Right?
How about I take your side and the rest of your shop?
You can call them all the time, but they ain't never gonna show up.
Get up.
And like all these people who say, oh, the police is actually covering for immigrant men. Yeah, right. The female supremacist police is covering up for immigrant men. Yeah, I totally believe that. Total nonsense. They're covering up for criminal, violent gangs of girls. This is what they're actually doing. Not immigrant men or any kind of men, because the police is anti-male, as thousands of studies have shown.
Don't touch. Don't touch anything. Don't touch anything.
Recording me then.
Just get out.
Yeah, I think we have seen enough on this, right, of this video. One of the thieving teenagers taking an item from Subway. The pack of girls spent every afternoon drunk attempting to steal the cookie cabinet from Subway. Again, where will be these right-wing commentators talking about this? Right? Well, let's watch this. Look how aggressive and fearless they are, right? They have zero fear of the police. Zero. Absolutely zero. Can you imagine if a group of boys or of men did this, right? These police would really go hard on these men, right? They would just beat them to the ground, basically, right? But they're having the kids' gloves on when it comes to violent female teenagers and women. Absolutely sickening. 4 youths flee from co-op market after stealing. They're just they feel like queens. They feel like queens, right? They feel like they can do whatever they want because they can do whatever they want because the system, this female supremacist system, lets them do it. Right? And by the way, like this girl in Dundee, she was probably one of those kinds of girls, right? One of these violent types of girls, right? Running around with an axe. Meanwhile, these right-wing idiots are celebrating her, right? Just complete nut jobs. But yeah, anyway, I think you get the point, right? I will link the article in the description. That this is a very important article that you actually need to save or something, archive this article, because this shows the actual truth, right? The actual truth, and this scratches just the tip of the iceberg, to be honest, because we don't know the true extent of female violence yet. We don't know the true extent because a lot of it is actually covered up. They're covering up women's crimes and girls' crimes, okay? Yeah, and also, will there be right-wing outrage over this, right? Female teachers raping male students or any kind of students, right? Will there be outrage over this, right? What women and girls do. Will there be protests